Hello guys and welcome. Today we're gonna be going through the Act 2 bosses and how to beat them. And yeah, I have a few suggestions on how to circumvent those legendary actions. And no, it's not just hitting them really hard.
Wait, I think I might have a way to beat him.
If you say hit him really hard, I swear to God, I will kick you in the dick!
A price I am destined to pay.
I guess we could hit him really hard together.
So let's go through all these ways that will make us not have to bow.
Bow!
Yes, Ketheric, that's what I said, to these bosses. Let's start with Ketheric Thorm, actually.
Why would you show mercy now?
I feel like he's one of the easiest fights. The fight that you have with him on the rooftop is actually pretty easy, in my opinion. His legendary action is Hordestrike. Once per round, Ketheric has spent the legendary action to deal damage to Hordestrike an enemy when it is attacked by one of his minions following deadly orders. So, deadly orders. Affected entity was ordered to attack a specific enemy. It's more likely to target this enemy, and attack rolls against the enemy have advantage. So it's a bit of a damage buff, but his HP is very low. So for this fight, just make sure you finish the Gauntlet of Sharp before you go and speak to him. I'm not certain what happens actually if you do try to speak to him before doing that, but I'm assuming if you get into the fight, then it's gonna be really hard for you to get out of there alive. So don't do that in honor mode because you cannot. You only have one life. So if you enjoy the content, I'm not gonna tell you to subscribe again. Instead, I'm gonna play a clip for you. Sawash 93 being thrown. Subscribers.
Yes!
More
No.
subscribers.
More!
Quick disclaimer, guys. There is a lot of ways to avoid most of the fights in Act 2. If you are playing a bard with a high charisma, you can, so apart from Balthazar and Ketheric, every other boss, you can make them kill themselves. If you want to make sure that you don't risk anything, then you can always try that. Let's continue on to the next boss. Next boss we're gonna be talking about is Gerringothe Thorm.
Do you bring?
Also known as a toll collector. Apart from actually dealing damage to you, according to how much gold you're carrying, so be careful with that. She also has this ability where whenever you hit her, your legendary action is sublimation.
Sublime!
What does this do? You attempt to turn your enemies into solid gold. And this is a Constitution saving throw, and once you're turned to gold, you stay in that form for 4 turns. And you can take actions, bonus actions, or reactions. So this is actually something that I ran into when I was fighting this boss, because my monk and my paladin got turned into gold because they were in melee with her while I was hitting her. Excuse me? And while she is losing gold from her forms, she will make your allies near her turned into gold. And there's also AoE coming up after that from the heads. So my recommendation for this fight is to kill the heads first, or pickpocket the gold off her. Don't carry gold with you. And if you are planning on getting in melee with her, make sure that it's only one character that stays in melee while attacking her. So, and if you can get advantage on Constitution saving throws, even better. If you can give them Bless to have that extra 1d4 on the saving throw, that can help them a lot. Make sure you have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So if you're gonna fight her, maybe you should respect your party to have a level in Sorcerer or Fighter first, so that they have that Constitution saving throw, or Barbarian. So it's Bless, advantage on Constitution, proficiency in Constitution, focus the heads, and you should be fine. I actually almost got wiped on this boss. I had to actually bust out my cheese strategies. So yeah, Let's continue with Thisobald Thorm.
Son of Thorm! Son of Sword Coast!
I've seen some grotesques in my time, but this is something else.
So, what is his legendary action? He's effectively, this guy, he has immunity to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage. If you are planning on hitting him really hard, then you might have some trouble with it. The smite damage will go through, but the actual attack damage won't go through. My monk, at the time, he would do damage with, I think it was necrotic or fire damage from his gloves, and from the monk subclass ability of the open fist. So he would do 1d4 plus 1d4 plus some additional sources from his items, but the actual bludgeoning damage didn't go through. So your damage is greatly reduced from melee characters on this guy. So, and he's also immune to thunder damage. So what you can do is you can throw elemental arrows at him. The elemental damage will go through. You can throw explosives, you can use barrels, or you can use spells or scrolls. So there are a lot of options on how to deal with him. However, whenever you deal damage to him, his brew ability attack will deal an additional 3d6 damage of the type of damage that you throw at him. Just keep in mind and don't go in with a party of full for pure physical damage party, because you're gonna have a really hard time killing this boss. Again, you can always convince this boss to kill himself, so this shouldn't be a problem for you. Make sure that you are protected from the curse while you're talking to him, because my actual character died and turned against me while I was having the cutscene, so be careful with that. Why is main character dead? Shadow cursed and dead? I'm sorry, but I have to kill you again. Up next, let's finish with the Thorn children, Malus Thorm, also known as the Doctor. So again, this boss can be convinced to kill himself. And his new legendary action. And actually this boss drops one of the best amulets in the game. His ability is Wail of Loss and Grasping Appendage. So Grasping Appendage just pulls a creature closer to him. Nothing special. But the Wail of Loss is another legendary action. After being attacked, Malus makes his assistants use Wail of Loss, dealing 46 psychic damage, possibly inflicting Confused, and pushing the targets back 3 meters. The pushing part is not that bad. The problem with it is, if your party members are confused in a boss fight, let's say your paladin is confused in a boss fight, and he hits another member of your party really hard with smites, you're really gonna have a problem. And if your sorcerer blows up your allies, that's also a problem. What can you do about this? So one thing you can do, again, is you can protect your party by giving them Bless, so that it's more likely for them to fail the saving throw against being confused. Could probably have a Beacon of Hope out to help with the Wisdom saving throw. Or what you can also do, you can use a Cleric to turn undead, to use the ability Channel Divinity, turn undead on all his minions, and then they would run away, and then they wouldn't be able to use Wail of Loss. Or you can just focus them down real fast. I've tried Blindness or Darkness on him, and it doesn't really do anything. But also you can convince him to kill his minions and then just fight him by himself. So there's a lot of options on going around this. But this is a really fun and exciting encounter, and it has some pretty good drops. Up next, I think we should cover Yurgir now. So in the Gauntlet of Shar, you will find Yurgir, who, in my opinion, under the wrong circumstances, can be the hardest fight in Act 2. So this is important. First of all, make sure you know of the location. And yes, you can convince this guy to kill himself, Okay, so here is Yurgir's legendary action, which is Blinding Ambush. Can strike a hunted creature when it attempts to attack or cast a spell, dealing 5 to 50 radiant damage and possibly blinding the target. So let's see how this fight goes. He is immune to fire and poison and resistant to cold and to non-magical items. And he is a fiend. However, if you are going to fight him, he also has a Displacer Beast with him. And all of his minions have the Sentinel feat. That's meaning if they attack you with a reaction, you lose all your movement speed. And this guy, on top of all, he can turn invisible. So, what do I recommend? Don't let him ambush you. Go through the top side, so there is a way to go behind him while they're waiting to ambush you. You can actually get the drop on them. So you can use a surprise round on that. Make sure to spread your party around so that his bombs, even if you fail the mechanic of his bombs, of his bomb ability, because he throws bombs, that's not a legendary action, but it's something that he could always do. So he throws bombs, and you can try to throw them back at him. You can try to use Fairy Fire on him to prevent him from going invisible. He has very low HP, but he does a lot of damage. And because he turns invisible every turn, so he hits you and then turns invisible, it's really hard for you to kill him, even though he's very weak. So what can you do? You can use Fairy Fire on him. You can use Branding Smite on him. You can use See Invisibility, but See Invisibility doesn't always work because it requires a saving throw. You can throw Area of Effect spells where he is. And yeah, pretty much. There's a lot of ways of dealing with his invisibility. What else? Don't stand near the bombs. Spread your party around and be careful of the reactions of the Sentinel, of his Sentinel followers. And that should be easy. And yeah, that's Yurgir. Up next, we have Balthazar. Now, Balthazar, you also find him at the Gauntlet of Shar. You can either fight him when you first meet him, or later on when you find the Night Song. If you fight him when you meet him, you have to fight the Flesh Golem as well. If you fight him afterwards, though, he summons about 20 skeletons. My recommendation: you should have really high armor class on every character, at least 20, because those skeletons are very likely to miss. They don't have high chance to hit. And if you have like a shield reaction, then that's all you need. And there's an amulet, you can have a level in wizard or sorcerer just to have the shield reaction, and then it makes it much, much, much more likely for you to survive against those, to not be hit by his minions. I would definitely focus him first, and let's look at his legendary actions. So he has two. One is Spectral, the Spectral aspect, and the other is the Dead Wastes. So the Dead Wastes, once per round, when a creature dies, Balthazar can use his legendary action to create a necrotic miasma where it fell that heals undead 46 hit point and deals 46 necrotic to all living creatures at the start of their turns. So, what does this mean? You don't focus the minions. Also, keep in mind he's wearing the Circlet of Bones, meaning that his undead will effectively have twice as much HP. And then, once per round, Spectral Aspect can adopt a Spectral Aspect after being struck. So if you try to focus him, then he turns to Spectral Aspect. And this gives him resistance to poison, fire, lightning, and thunder damage, and makes him immune to cold and necrotic damage. Creatures that strike it become Bone Shield, meaning that they can't heal, and they have disadvantage on attack rolls. So, It cannot be frightened, paralyzed, petrified, restrained, or made prone, and it can also fly. So this may seem a little bit harder to kill if you try to focus him. Even with resistances to all those types, first of all, he's not resistant to bludgeoning damage. So having a monk will destroy him. Having a paladin will destroy him. He has very low HP, and even though those are really good conditions to have, and he can be made prone, he is very easy to kill once you start hitting him. So in my opinion, I would go to Balthazar first and start laying at him with my melee characters. And then you could probably use something like force damage, like magic missiles, to finish him off with another party member. If you go down that route. Let's talk about the Apostole of Myrkul. So Apostole of Myrkul, oh my god, this is one of the coolest bosses in the game. It looks like a Dark Souls boss. Shadowheart's reaction. Such a cool looking boss. I think they overdid themselves with this one. I don't think there's a better boss in the game. Visually. Now, what can this boss do? Well, it does have a lot of abilities, right? Like the Reaper Scythe, the Call of the Damned. It can consume a Necromite's souls to cast Finger of Death, which does pretty good damage, and it can insta-kill one of your party members. What you need to be wary of is that you cannot heal your party members while near it. Right? So it has an area around it where you cannot heal. So keep that in mind. If you want to heal your party members, they have to be standing a bit back. Its new legendary action, Gaze of the Dead. Cast your empty eyes towards a creature and frighten it, and it deals 4d8 plus 5 necrotic damage. The damage is not that big. At this point in the game, if you're using 8, you have way too much HP, so you shouldn't be worrying about this. The problem with it is the frighten ability, because you're going to have disadvantage and you're not going to be able to walk towards the boss. So how do you deal with this? Well, I would probably recommend something like a Bless. Anything that really gives you, or the Paladin's Aura, giving you an additional bonus to that saving throw. However, I'm more worried about the Mind Flare that he has, that dominates Dame Aileen, and then she starts laying at your party. Wait, there's a Mind Flare? Squeeze me? Oh shit! Did he stun half my party? Oh, it's just the skeletons. And she can do some really big damage with her smites. So be careful of the Mind Flare. I would probably focus the Mind Flare and the Necromites first before fighting this boss. So my recommendation is just focus the Necromites, throw a big fireball or 2 fireballs, quicken a second one on them. Kill the Mind Flare really fast, because you can also stun your entire party, which will be grouped together because of how this encounter starts. Try to help Dame Aileen, so you could have Scratch, Dash, and help her. Or you could have a monk move, dash with his bonus action, or a rogue, and go near her and then just help her out of her chains so she can start helping you. But be very careful of the Mind Flayer and kill the Necromites, because those Necromites will be sacrificed to cast Finger of Death, and yeah, that's a lot worse than the Gaze of the Dead, in my opinion. Other than that, this is a really cool fight. Make sure to enjoy it.
Nothing. I am forsaken. You have no idea what you've done.
And finally, Oliver, I couldn't actually get this fight in my honor run because I accidentally lost Halsin. Now he has his new legendary action, Vengeful Playmate, which says envelop an area in the wasting quiet after one of your summon shadows is destroyed. So the creature is silenced and takes 3d8 necrotic damage every time they enter or start their turn inside this miasma of childlike terror. He is vulnerable to Radiant, so I guess in this scenario you can just hit him really hard. I don't really consider this a legendary fight. It really felt very easy whenever I fought it, especially because I usually do it at the end of the act after I fight Ketheric. So yeah, this is the legendary action. This is what it does. I wouldn't say that it's particularly challenging. So it's just another cool action that they've added. In my opinion, this doesn't really count as a boss. Maybe I'm a bit obnoxious. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like the content, guys, please drop a like, drop a subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments if I've missed something. And I'll see you in the next video.